Good evening, everybody. This is lovely to see so many people here. For the people who don't know me, because we've got a mixture of constituents here, my name is Bob Porter, and I run an organisation called Brandenburg, which covers a couple of orchestras and a choral festival, or did up to a certain point, and currently an online project. And part of our online project is to try and interview distinguished conductors and friends of Brandenburg, so along the way, and so that's what we're doing tonight. So I'm now going to introduce my lot to Jonathan Rathbone. Jonathan, could you tell us uh, what you do currently, and maybe a little bit about how you got there? Because being a conductor is a bit of an odd thing. So how did you reach that point?
Yes, it was never something I thought I'd do, but I just went through. Well, I went through the Royal Academy, and then I sang with the BBC Singers, and then the Swingles came looking for me. It's always been my whole career has been serendipitous. So the Swingle Singers needed somebody to sing in 1984, so I just went along, auditioned, and got the job, and then I found myself musical director of that very quickly, and ran that for about 12 years and wrote most of the music for them for that decade. And then when I left, I started teaching. I'd already started teaching singing, and I saw an advert for a choir director. It was a Rowan Tree choir. I'm still with it. I can see quite a lot of them tonight. Hello. Yeah. I just saw an advert and I thought, oh, that looks quite interesting. I was also writing music for Faber Music at the time, lots of choral arrangements for them. And they kept saying, oh, these are good, but can you make them a bit more sort of amateur choiry? You know, they're a little bit swingly. And I thought the easiest way really to learn, I prefer to be in front of the choir. It's always easy. I'm writing something for 4 choirs together in Norway, which is very difficult because I know one of them. The other 3 I don't know. So I'm sort of struggling a bit with that, guessing how they might sound. But if you can hear the choir in front of you, you can see the choir, it's much easier to write. So I applied, and yeah, I got that job, and I thought I'd just do it for a couple of years. I've told them I was only going to do 2 years. That was the secret plan. But it's 21 now and counting, and I've got 4 choirs now that I run, plus the university choir and plus church. So I'm involved in sort of 6 groups per week, in some sort of way or other. Yeah,
That's busy.
yeah, but I enjoy it. It's lovely.
Complicated.
Well, yeah. It's complicated at the moment. I mean, it was it was relatively easy. I'd pick up the folder for Tuesday, and I'd go to that choir, pick up the folder for Wednesday, and I could get my head around that. But now on Tuesday, you're having to think about what you're doing on Wednesday, whether you've got the recordings already. And I'm thinking about emailing the Thursday choir to tell them what I'm doing. And then as soon as that's round, I'm now thinking about the email that needs to go out for Monday to sort of get everything ready, and the recordings. I've got Helen booked in to record tomorrow morning to get all the things ready, because of course it's all, as you know, nothing is straightforward now. But we're doing pretty much what you're doing, Bob. I mean, this is this whole project you're doing is online choirs, and it's
Yeah, kind of. We've gone on a slightly different tack, because the the online recording and rehearsing and so on is okay up to a point. I think you'll probably agree there's a clear cut-off when it stops being okay. And rather than bang our head against that particular brick wall, we've tried to think sideways. So all the other things that you might do associated with being in a choir, like going to the pub afterwards and talking to Ethel about your grandchildren, or about whatever it is.
yes,
And so we've got lots of add-ons like this, for example. This is something that's a little bit interesting, and in a minute I'm going to ask you about the pieces that we've been working on, and if you've got any little nuggets of wisdom to throw in. So this is quite good for me, because it means I can pick everybody else's brains, you see, and get all the best ideas. So we do that. We do analysis classes. We do individual vocal coaching, individual note learning.
individual. That's
Yeah, one to one.
Oh, that's good.
For people who don't know the repertoire very well. So because I think for you've got a very fixed choir, as you just described. You know what they're capable of, and which directions they need stretching in. We're a very mixed bunch, so it's a lot harder to try and get the level right.
Yeah. Yes, of course. You've just advertised all over the place, and yes,
Yeah,
you don't know who's coming along. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people who've traditionally sung with the Brandenburg pickup choir, as it were,
Yeah.
or the Come and Sings in the festival, those sorts of things. I think that's the majority of the people. But gradually they tell their mates, and gradually it just carries on moving along.
How many have you got involved in the latest project? What's the sort of...
The current project is probably just over 100.
Yes, it's a lot of mixing.
And it operates on a sort of very much a unit based. So we do a 4-week unit based on around one piece.
Yes.
But as I say, not concentrating too much on the recording and rehearsing side because of the problems, but branching out a bit sideways. And so people will pop in for one, and if you don't like the repertoire we're doing on the next one, you could pop out again, and then it's very, very flexible.
Yeah.
So we've been working on Locussiste.
Oh yes.
Now I know this is a piece you know very well because I think you told me once that one of your choirs does it from memory.
That's what. Well, you met us through London Forest Choir, which is one of my choirs, and your orchestra came and played for us, and yes, they do know it from memory. We haven't done it for a little while, but it's one that we, when we've got to perform something and nobody's got any music with them, it's one that we can almost. I think we can still do. we haven't done it for nobody's done anything for 6 months now,
No.
but I think we could probably still pull that one out of the bag. Yeah, it's a nice piece, that. Difficult lines though, eh?
Okay,
long lines.
What makes it special and what makes it difficult?
Well, I think what makes it difficult is what makes it easy. It's like it looks really simple on the page, and then when you actually come to do it, it's actually quite difficult. The lines are really quite long, and I think what I always try and impress on them is that locus iste. Every phrase has got to go somewhere, and it takes a long time to get there. So you're
my gang are just looking at me now, looking smug. I'm looking smug. Thank you so much for that.
You've
comment.
done that.
Well, unsurprisingly, you've just hit the nail. One of the 2 or 3 nails on the head. That's absolutely the thing.
Yeah, but it's a beautiful piece.
Yeah, especially if you're an amateur singer singing into your iPhone and absolutely scared stiff. To remember the phrasing and the shaping is really important.
When you do that, do you do it with a click or what do you give them?
Yeah, we're this is only the 3rd step that we've done, so we're learning all the time. To be frank, on this one we had a MIDI choir.
Yes, yeah.
To surround and give confidence. We had a click.
Yeah.
It was interesting. Do you know Christopher Herrick? Organist.
No, I don't.
Okay.
No, I don't.
He's probably in his late 70s now. He conducts Twickenham Choral Society that
Yeah.
we also have played for many years. And he did this interview a couple of weeks ago, and I asked him about the Locussiste. He said, "Yes, marvellous piece. Are you going to conduct in 2 or 4?"
Oh gosh.
That was his first reaction.
Yes.
And
interesting.
So what would your comment be?
I try. Well, to be honest, the more conducting I do, you've got to give the speed of the thing, but actually most of my concert conducting is spent shaping things now. So I don't want to go. I do quite a lot of conducting workshops with people, and it's generally the conductor is the problem. Sorry, I do a workshop with a group, and you go, actually, you can't say it because the conductor's invited you there, but actually it's the conductor going, Locussiste. It's like 1, 2, 3. But if you go, Locussiste, they'll sing it much nicer. And they don't need to know the speed. If you've given them just a 3 there.
Yeah, 100%.
That's all you need. I don't beat beats unless it's a tricky rhythmic passage now. I don't.
The reason why I asked that question in response to your question about click is that the what we're trying to do is to accommodate the negatives of doing the online recording, but also find some new positives. So the actual truthful answer to Christopher's question was that we ended up with a click in 4,
Yes.
but conducting in 2.
Did
So
they see the conductor at the same time?
Yes.
Then is that yes?
Yes.
Okay, you videoed a conductor.
Yeah.
No, I've not done
So
that.
you get the best of both worlds.
Yes.
You get because we've had long discussions in sectionals about the balance between accuracy and music, the phrasing and so. And the old-fashioned choir conductor you've just imitated is the bandmaster. Locus is stay.
Yeah. Everything in time, but nothing musical about it.
With a consonant 4 times louder than anything on the end of a,
oh, I hate that. Yes.
So it's getting the balance between the accuracy, which you need, but overrided by the musicality.
Yeah, and to be honest, the audience love the musicality at the end of the day. The audience are not there clocking up points where there was one alto was a little bit, late, or they're not looking at that.
Yeah.
They want a nice experience. Yeah.
Yeah. So no. That's been quite interesting. You're hitting the nail on the head.
Well, I take the click out for mine. Well, usually I do, unless they need to know where to come in. But I get Helen to sing everything, you see, and me.
Yes.
So they get the they've got a demo track. We have the click, but we're quite used to listening to that. It's hard to make it musical with a click. But I've realised now I did a lot of work with Nicholas Dodd, who used to do the orchestrations for James Bond films.
Yes, I know Nicholas.
Yeah. I did a lot of ghost writing for him, and I shouldn't say that, but I did, and a lot of copying for him. But I remember the time they spent over the clicks, the click track for a Catherine Jenkins album. It's like they went over and over again. It's like it's really quite involved and quite well. You know this, Bob. You've played for these things. That it's quite involved, and you realise why. It's got to be effortless. No one should know there was ever a click track there, but it does need to hold something together. You can't just start a piece and hope it all finishes together. Especially on a recording. You need something to hold on to.
There's a little question on the chat from Liz Wolfe.
Oh yeah, she's
Liz. Pauline.
Oh.
From Pauline Martindale, asking what is a click?
Yeah. Yes, and actually Liz has said the same thing, I think. Yeah. No, the click is when you're singing something like, if it was singing Locus Iste and you've got to sing it on a recording, and of course you're not singing it with a choir, you can't just sing Locus Iste because you don't know when the cus comes from everybody else. So in your ear you get this Locus Iste. Adeo factus est. But it will slow down there. And slow down for you to take a breath. And it's quite difficult to work out beforehand. I mean, quite honestly, what we've tended to do now, because we're churning through so much with Helen, that what we do is I put down a rough click, and fortunately all the backing is on Logic. So what happens is Helen will come in and we'll sing the first couple of phrases, and there'll be a bit where she said, you just need more time for breath there. That's very unmusical when you're singing it. And you go, yeah, okay. So I fiddle with the click for a few minutes, and then I'd say, how does that feel? And you go, that's the one, yeah. So we get most of them like that. But the trouble is, of course, what you do is you get a wonderful click track. Helen sings the soprano part. I come round to doing the tenor part. Oh, and I'll tell you how I'm doing that these days. I'll tell you that in a minute. I'm really cheating. But you come round to do the tenor part and you go, it's brilliant for the sopranos, all take a breath in bar 18, but the tenors need one in bar 19, and the click doesn't do that. And I can't change it now because Helen's sung all the way to the end. I mean, I could time stretch it, but really, life's too short. I mean, I'm doing that for... I'm spending my whole life at the computer trying to make these tracks work. So you have to bend it. What I was going to say, my tenor, I used to sing tenor. I mean, I was a choral scholar as a tenor, and then I dropped a bit and became a bass with the BBC Singers, and I was back up to second tenor for the Swingle Singers when I did that. But I took over from Ward Swingle, the great Ward, who had the lowest speaking voice. He's down here all the time. Hello, Jonathan. Good to see you. He's always he was like Lee Marvin. Was that the one? I was born under a warning sign. He's growling all the time. And I said, Ward, why on earth were you second tenor? He said, well, I got this great first tenor. I got a wonderful baritone. I got this great second bass. The only thing I didn't have was a second tenor, so I'll do that myself. So when I inherited that part, it was perfect for me because, as I say, I've been a choral scholar as a tenor, then as a bass with the BBC Singers. And this part was just ridiculous. When it was in 4 parts, soprano, alto, tenor, bass, obviously you're singing with the tenors. So the part would go regularly up to a top B on the night. But then, when Ward is writing for himself, he would regularly write, the baritone would come up and take a lovely solo line, and Ward would just descend with the bass, and it went down to a bottom E flat. Which is okay on microphone. So you ended up on this strange little part. But I used to sing those high notes. I can't do it anymore. So what I do now is I record the whole thing, and I come to do the tenor part. Whatever I've recorded, I bend it down a tone. You use a computer. It doesn't sound great, but you just bend everything down a tone. And I sing my tenor part a tone lower. And then I've got this wonderful thing from Avox. They put out a new package a few months ago. It was a few £100, but I bought it because I updated. And it's got this thing called Mutator, which you can change the sound of a voice. Now, as you know, Bob, when you change the pitch of a voice, it goes from ba 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 to be be be. It goes all be 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 like this, like Pinky and Perky when you move it up a tone. But I can use with mutators. It goes ba ba ba. It goes be be ba 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 ba. I can make it back into almost my voice. It's a bit glitchy, you know. There's one or two. It's not. It's only a few £100. It's not a few thousand. But I can get away with an awful lot of high notes. So when you hear me singing tenors, when you listen, please forgive me. It's if it sounds bad, it's the mutators not working properly. If it sounds good, it's my clever expertise that's.
I have heard rumours that there are certain tenor soloists whose names may be Watson Russell, for example.
Oh yes.
Who has an entire library of music transposed down a bit.
Well, all his stuff's down. You know, his Nessun Dorma is down, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, you know
I couldn't. No, I've heard that said by many people. I couldn't possibly comment.
I tell you what, though, I did something for Catherine Jenkins a few years ago, and Gross wrote it, and Nick Dodd sent me the file from Prague, and I got the orchestral backing, which is what I wanted to hear. Because, of course, you never, as an orchestrator, the best bit of your day is when you actually hear the orchestra play it. Mm-hmm. You want to hear what you learn all the time. You go, that worked better than I thought, or I won't do that again. But I just wanted to hear it, so he sent it to me. It was in B flat, and I got it. And then eventually Catherine Jenkins' album came out, and I listened to it, and I listened to it next to mine. I just listened to the thing, and it's upper semitone. And I rang. Do you know Simon Franklin?
No.
The producer. I rang him and said, "What happened to that? Because it's in B major." And he said, "Oh, she decided that she could sing a top F sharp at the end instead of a top F. She preferred." So he had to transfer. They did the whole orchestra. Then now they've got some equipment. And in fact, I wrote to him afterwards. He's done the same for me. He's moved things. He speeded things up and slowed them down. Because you know when you speed things up and slow them down, it deteriorates the quality. And I'm thinking, well, if he's putting the whole album out, pitch changed, he must have some serious stuff. He said, "Oh, we've got some good equipment." I said, "Can I send you 3 MP3s and you do the same for me?" So it came out quite well. But you don't often hear them going up.
I have one question for you.
Yeah, go on.
Just before we go on. Did you ever overlap with Simon Grant?
Yeah, very much. Yeah, he's a good friend. Yeah,
Simon was
whistling and singing.
Yes. This is amazing. Simon was at Guildhall as a student when I was. We were contemporaries, and I was putting on little concerts then. He sang in a few things for me then. but
Yeah.
he could his party piece. You probably know this already, but his party piece was the Habanera from Carmen, and he would
I've
sing
never heard him do that.
into big interval,
Yeah.
and then simultaneously. Anybody who's here, I challenge you to sing and whistle and even get a single note out at the
Yeah.
same time. That was
No, I tried. That was his party piece when we were in Swingles. He
Yes.
used to do My Old Man, which started with that cat. So it started.
opposite directions.
Yeah, in opposite. But that's the easy bit. The easy bit is when they're doing the same rhythm. But
Yes.
then it goes. He's doing My Old Man. I can't whistle very well, but he's going, and that's the difficult bit. Go to just hold one whistling note while you go.
Because they follow.
Engage the voice, let the voice go, but the breath keeps going because you're whistling. It's really.
It's
And you know
bizarre.
what? I'd take my hat off to Simon because he used to he would take rehearsals. When I first joined the group, he took rehearsals. He took over from Wood, and he'd say, "Can we go from bar 14? You know, sopranos." And he'd give the bass and the soprano part. You know how I can only sing one part. So the sopranos, altos, basses, but he could actually whistle and sing one. And when we got to our first concert was I had an 8-week tour of America. Was the first thing I did, and the management were a bit worried about 8 weeks solid concerts and no warm-up concerts, so they booked the Mayfair Theatre in Soho for us to do just a warm-up concert. So that because there were 2 new tenors in the group, 2 new tenors. There was no experienced tenor in that group at all. So they said, let's do a warm-up date, and then they decided we need an audience. So everybody just asked their friends. And Molly, I don't know if you come, Olive Simpson, who was the first soprano then, she knew all the old swingles, invited them all, of course. Now that made us doubly nervous. Of course, that was a bad idea in retrospect, because you've got everybody who knows when you've gone wrong is now sitting in the audience, and it's your first concert. And then Molly says to Simon, they've all heard My Old Man loads of times. You did it at the end of every show. And he went, oh gosh. So do you know what he did? He did Badinery. And he'd go, underneath. He just did it off the top of his head. He'd go, oh, I better do Badinery instead, or something like that.
That's
And
extraordinary.
at Christmas they go, can you do something at Christmas? You go, oh, I'll do whistling and singing. He is amazing, yeah.
Yeah.
He should have made an album.
Yeah.
There should be a video of him doing all that, because you can't really appreciate it on an album. You need to see him do it live.
I'll have to say your rendition does leave a little bit to be desired.
Oh, gosh, yes.
For how I remember it.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's not
Yeah.
talk about
Simon Grant, yeah. Wonderful
Well done,
man.
Simon.
Yeah.
So our next step is going to be Wie lieblich from the German Requiem.
Oh. Wonderful.
What can you what little have you got any hints or any thoughts about that
Well, again, it's all about line, isn't it, that one? I tell you what I like with that one, after the da dee da dee 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 da da, Wie lieblich. I always take a bit of time on the V.
Mm-hmm.
How lovely, so that you get a lovely, a lieblich that's worth saying. I just take a bit of time there. It's a wonderful piece of writing, that one. The one of the bits I love is that bit where there's sopranos and tenors at the end. You know, they go soaring up. It's quite standard writing. Yes. Yeah, the sopranos and tenors are like this, and the basses and altos are like this. But he makes it go so high that when the altos, the altos here, tenors here, he goes like this. It's just like, and it works so beautifully.
It's fantastic.
Oh, he knew how to write. I tell you what, though, with that, are you doing it with orchestra?
No,
No,
we're doing it with 4 hands,
Yes.
1 player.
Oh.
Because this
Isn't he just playing the accompaniment then?
No, he's playing the 4 hands version, but he's going to be playing both versions.
Oh, you are doing
recorded.
it.
Because,
Yes.
There are negatives about online music, but there are also other. We can cheat in call it cheating, but
Yes, save a fee on a pianist by the sounds of it.
So he's doing both. because he will know how he will react to what he's hearing.
Yes.
Because we often reverse engineer things, so he'll probably be the last thing that's recorded.
Oh, okay.
We'll start with MIDI, and
well, he's got that to hang on to, so he
Yeah.
should be fine. Yeah.
And very exciting. This is the first one we're doing with the singers from Royal Holloway, Rupert Goffslot.
Oh yeah.
Amazing.
Yes.
So they're going to be section leading. There'll be people here who are planning on doing it. This is news as of sort of this morning, so this is brand new. It's very exciting. And then we reverse engineer it, and he will probably be the last thing that we actually put in. So his job is to accompany what he hears twice.
Yes.
But his reaction to what he hears will be the same twice.
Yes.
So
That sounds a good idea.
So that's what we're trying, but it'll be quite funny to see the video.
It'll be quite liberating,
twice.
actually, if you're playing a piano duet, that you haven't got to worry about where the other person's hand is all the time. You know how you play something, you've got to get out of the way to let the other one... Yeah. So we always come to play. My wife and I play duets. We're always sort of tussling around middle C. It's always a little bit of a fight. Yeah. Well, I'm going to need it in a moment. I need it now. Yeah. Yes.
Fantastic.
Part of the fun. Well, that sounds like a good idea, Bob. But I was going to say to you, it's because you have an orchestra at your disposal, of course, as we know.
Kind of, but
well, they're a bit in lockdown, aren't they?
No, but they do need paying. You see.
Oh yeah.
The thing. So we did our second step was our first step was Ave Verum with the strings.
Yes, I saw that. Yeah.
Lovely string section.
That was lovely.
Beautiful playing. But that they did that as a favour.
That's nice.
I can't keep asking people for favours all the time. So
but I was going to say about the Brahms, I think is better with the pianos. Having done both versions, I find it much more satisfying for the choir with piano.
I mean, because it's inherently a classical piece. It's not a shout up, is it? It's a
Well, it has to be when you've got the whole orchestra there.
Yeah. Well,
that's the problem.
I can tell you, loads of times the orchestra's been booked to play for an amateur choir of 50 aging, non-strong singers, and then I get letters of complaint because the orchestra was too loud. Well, that's because Brahms wrote that noise. I know.
That's what's so disappointing.
What we've done a few times, I've actually got a couple of arrangements of, like the Forerec, the Rutter Forerec with organ and strings and a couple of bits.
Yes.
I've got two versions of the Brahms like that.
Yeah.
Which works really well because then the choir is the main voice.
Yes. Yeah.
Instead of fighting.
No, I agree with you. That would be a nice version.
On this occasion, it's piano. I don't know what to call it. Piano duet, solo duet or something.
I don't know. So you know that the piano duet that you're doing, the one Brahms actually wrote, aren't you?
Yes.
It doesn't. It was intended to be played without singers. That. So you have to go through the score.
Oh, I didn't know that.
No, I'll show you. I'll show you the page. I'll send you my copy. But you have to go through because he plays through all the a cappella bits. So you'll tell your pianist you must stop for this because there is no orchestra. But of course Brahms, and he's put the words because he just wanted to sit down and play it with a friend. I mean, that's how they made music in those days. If you wanted to hear a Beethoven symphony, you didn't put Spotify on. And you couldn't find a concert because they're not going to play that for another 18 years in your little town in Leicestershire. What you would do is get a friend who could play it, and you'd sit at the piano and you'd do it like that. So that's why those piano duet versions work. They're there. But,
brilliant.
Yeah.